Good morning and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. Today, we're starting with a developing story that has significant implications for thousands of people around the world. The United States government has announced that it will be ending temporary protected status for citizens of Myanmar, also known as Burma, citing upcoming elections in the country as evidence of progress. According to reports from multiple sources, including the Associated Press and Reuters, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has concluded that conditions in Myanmar have improved to the point where its citizens can safely return home. This decision has been met with concern from human rights groups and advocates, who argue that the situation in Myanmar remains dire, with ongoing armed conflict, arbitrary arrests, and reports of torture. The Temporary Protected Status Program was initially granted to Myanmar nationals in response to the country's 2021 military coup, which ousted a civilian government and led to widespread violence and unrest. The program allowed thousands of people from Myanmar to remain in the United States temporarily until conditions in their home country improved. However, human rights organizations are disputing the U.S. government's assessment of the situation in Myanmar, pointing out that the country is still plagued by violence, corruption, and repression. They argue that forcing people to return to Myanmar could put them at risk of harm, arrest, or even death. We've seen statements from groups like Human Rights Watch, which says that the decision is based on egregious misstatements about the situation in Myanmar. The Assistance Association for Political Prisoners reports that over 30,000 people have been arrested for political reasons since the military seized power, and nearly 7,500 have been killed. As this story continues to unfold, we'll be keeping a close eye on developments and bringing you updates and analysis. For now, it's clear that this decision has significant implications for thousands of people from Myanmar who are living in the United States, as well as for the broader community of human rights advocates and concerned citizens around the world. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our coverage of global events, and now we turn our attention to the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The United States has called on Sudan's warring parties to accept a ceasefire plan without any alterations. This development comes after months of violence between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which has led to famine, ethnic killings, and mass displacement. According to senior U.S. envoy Masad Boulos, neither of the factions has formally accepted the truce plan, despite there being no objections to its content. The Sudanese army has come back with preconditions that are described as impossible to achieve. This news is concerning, given the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Sudan and the need for a swift resolution to the conflict. The U.S. proposal for a truce builds on a previous plan submitted in September by a group including the United States, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates. The army leader, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has criticized the latest proposal, saying it sidelines the army and grants the Rapid Support Forces legitimacy. However, Boulos contends that these criticisms are based on incorrect information. The situation is further complicated by accusations of external interference, with the UAE being accused of arming the Rapid Support Forces, which it denies. The diplomatic advisor to the UAE president, Anwar Gargash, has stated that his country will not be deterred from seeking peace by what he calls disingenuous claims and misinformation campaigns. In a recent development, the Rapid Support Forces announced a unilateral ceasefire, which, while welcomed by the U.S., is viewed with skepticism by the Sudanese government, who see it as a political maneuver. The international community continues to call for an end to external financial and military support to the warring parties, emphasizing the need for a genuine commitment to peace. As we continue to monitor the situation in Sudan, it's clear that finding a lasting solution will require careful diplomacy and a commitment from all parties involved to put the needs of the Sudanese people first. We will keep following this story and provide updates as more information becomes available. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I want to bring attention to a pressing humanitarian issue that requires our immediate concern. The Gaza Strip is facing a severe crisis as winter approaches, with over 1 million Palestinians left vulnerable due to a lack of essential supplies including tents, food, and warm clothing. The recent floods in the region have only exacerbated the situation, with thousands of makeshift dwellings damaged or destroyed, leaving many without shelter. The United Nations and other agencies are working tirelessly to repair stormwater infrastructure and provide aid, but the need is overwhelming. It's essential to acknowledge the complexities of the conflict in the region and the challenges faced by all parties involved. However, as we consider the human cost of this crisis, it's crucial that we prioritize the well-being and dignity of those affected, regardless of their background or affiliation. As the international community comes together to address this crisis, it's vital that we support efforts to provide humanitarian aid, shelter, and protection to those in need. We must also recognize the importance of finding a long-term solution to the conflict, one that promotes peace, stability, and cooperation among all parties involved. As we conclude today's show, I urge our listeners to stay informed about this critical issue and to consider ways they can make a positive impact. Whether through supporting humanitarian organizations or advocating for policy changes, every effort counts in helping to alleviate the suffering of those affected. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.